Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Mega Group. My name is Linda Sylvester and I will be your host for the Mega Group. Our group today is scheduled from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Before we begin, let's go over some information about this webinar. This orientation group will operate in webinar format. Attendees will not be able to turn on their video or microphone during Mega Groups. You are counted in attendance as soon as you logged in. You do not need to follow up with us regarding attendance. If you lose connection, try to rejoin the webinar as soon as possible. You will still receive your incentive even if you get disconnected from the webinar. All right, everyone, let's begin. We have a very exciting group ahead of us, so let's go over today's goals. First, we'll go into the opening ritual. Then we'll have some program announcements, incentive cards, plus activation codes. Then we'll have our Friends of TAP segment. Messiah Ram Kasoon will be with us. Then we'll have a showcase of work from your small groups. We have our animation industry guest speaker, Garnett Garcia and Stephanie Molina. And then we'll go into our closing ritual. All right, it's time to introduce my partner for the Mega Groups, Lisa Clementi.
Thanks, Lyndon. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here with you all. Happy Wednesday. So I'm going to lead us through our opening ritual for today. And we are already in week 3 of our small groups, Lyndon's, and we've been working really hard creating stories and characters. So for our opening ritual today, we're going to ask you all, what is your favorite part of creating a story so far? So you'll see right now there is a link in the chat. So you could click on that link. It'll take you to another site where you get to answer your response. And we're going to see these come in live time. So what is your favorite part of creating a story so far?
Can't wait to see these responses.
You know, me too, Lyndon. There's so many components that going into making a story. And of course, we can only put so much in these online polls. So really excited to see. Of course, we left a category for other because there's so many parts.
Yeah. Character design looks like it's the lead so far with 25.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Coming in next though looks like plot. a little love for environmental design.
They need some more love.
Yeah, we've been talking about a lot of themes that go into storytelling, so that's on there as well. But so many other categories and components. But it looks like, I don't know, Lyndon, looks like everybody's landing on the character design part of storytelling.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely tell why. Character design is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I know. Me too. It's been a lot of fun working on the characters. All right, team. Wow. Thank you, everyone who's participated in our opening ritual. Definitely a lot of excitement surrounding character design. It's really cool to hear that from you all.
Definitely. Thanks, everyone. All right. Now it's time to read some program announcements. So, if you have received your incentive card, please make sure you keep it in a safe place. If you have not received your incentive card, you will receive it by May 26. Cards will not be loaded with funds until May 26. You will receive an email with an activation code for your card by May 26. No need to email us in the meantime.
Thanks, Lyndon. Now on to some schedule reminders. So the animation project will be closed on Memorial Day, Monday, May 31st. If you are in a Monday small group, you're going to have 2 options to make up that missed day. Option 1, you may join the Tuesday group on June 1st, the following day, that coordinates with your Monday group assignment. So as you can see listed here, group 10 and group 1 would move in with group 14 from 2 to 3 p.m., just that 1 week. And if you're in group 11, group 2, or group 3, you would join group 15 on that Tuesday from 3:30 to 4:30, just that 1 week. Or if that doesn't work for you, option 2, you can make up that session on the TAP website. And just so you know, all Monday groups, you will also receive this information via email. All right. So what happens if you missed our orientation, or you've missed a group or two, or you have some incentive questions? So our website is the best resource for you. So that is www.theanimationproject.org. And you'll see a link in the chat right now that leads you right to our FAQ page, where we have a lot of answers to your questions already listed on the website.
Who to contact? So if you have questions about incentives, you can contact incentives@theanimationproject.org. If you have questions about your schedule or attendance, you can contact program2@theanimationproject.org. And if you want to make up a session, you can contact program2@theanimationproject.org.
Awesome. Thanks, Lyndon. All right. So, and now it is time for our Friends of TAP, where we will be welcoming guests who have programming that might be of interest to some of you. Our Friends of TAP guest is Messiah Ramkasoon, performing artist, Senior Director of Programming and Community Partnerships, Youth Justice Network. Welcome, Messiah.
Greetings, good afternoon. Happy to be here. Good afternoon, can you hear me?
Oh yes, we can hear you loud and clear, Messiah. So great to have you here.
Likewise, happy to be here, happy to be here. Peace to all the young people present. Peace to all the young people present. I'm sorry, there's a glare. Okay, that's better. Yes, I want to say I'm happy to be here. Thank you to the Animation Project for having me. I'm happy to be back. This is my second time here. What's special about today is that today is May 19th, which is the actual B-Day of the great Malcolm X, later on his life known as Alhaji Malik Shabazz. So I'm thankful to be here with you on this special day to speak to the young people. I don't know how many hundred young people we have here with us, but I know that we have a significant number. And I'm gonna start with a spoken word piece called Chess Game. And it says, I write for the little children, the young brothers, the Trayvon Martins. I write for the Skittle children who come in colors like crayons and markers. The new life starters, the juvenile martyrs who inspired Martins and unified marches. You and I been targeted since the South and Emmett Till. Our heartless sergeants, the House, the Senate bill. Can't sleep with Benadryl or a recommended pill. No disparity between a miscarriage and a family member killed. Every zip code is a battle zone. No safe road to travel home. Whites still kill blacks for wearing a strong color. Blacks kill blacks for wearing the wrong color. The blonde brother has never seen such. The English, the Dutch fought for self. Anyone else didn't mean much. We kill ourselves and leave the shells like peanuts for feds to clean up. The Zimmerman symptom been simmering in hot water. The crack in the pot boiler, assembling while black on the white corner. The top shelf and the glass of a shot caller versus the poor 151 rum. Nowhere to run from, the 9 milli or Magnum gun. The baby should be having fun, but life cut short like penis in the Magnum cum. We used to walk with eloquence. We used to walk with elegance. We used to talk with eloquence. We used to fly like hawks or pelicans with angelic wings. Now we just walk in skeletons, puppets on a string. This is the rebirth, the coming of the kings who built pyramids amongst other things. Chessboard, this is Tupac before the role they cast him in. King before bishop, no need for castling, known for mastering square by square like a mason with the queen adjacent, our most precious asset. The seat in the bassinet has been a threat since Jesus of Nazareth, born from triple darkness. That's the Black Knight, never been the pawn till the dawn of the crack pipe. To all my kings resting, faces on t-shirts, time to live again. This is the rebirth, coming of the kings and queens. Thank y'all for listening. Like I said, today is a special day. And so, this is the B-Day of the great El Hajj Malik Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X. And, Malcolm said something, he said a lot of things that were of just timeless value. But one of the things that he said that stuck out to me that I think you all should really take with you is that education is the passport for the future, right? He said tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And so, I just want you to understand the importance and remember the importance of preparation. Whatever it is that you want to get into in life, it requires preparation, it's no fast way of getting there. We got these cell phones. It's more than just for Instagram, for Facebook, for instant gratification. Do the research. First start with a plan, right? What is the plan that you want for your life? What is it that you want to achieve? What is it that you want to sustain? Set a date by it. When would you like to get there? When do you see yourself getting there realistic, right? And do the research. What will it take to get there? What resources will you need? How much time will you need? Who do you need to talk to? What places do you need to go to knock on doors? But I just want you to understand that the future, the blessing of the future is waiting for you. It's got your name on it already. We just got to put in the work. All right. So I love y'all. And I want y'all to take that message and run with it. Right. And remember what we said last time. I believe that some of you may have been here last time when we spoke about discipline. Right. And we also said that the person who fails to plan plans to fail. So none of us here are failures. We're all winners. But our destiny is a thing that's subjective to our actions, our decisions. It's in alignment with that. Right. So what you put out is what comes back to you. So you get out there and you make it happen, it'll come back to you. You do nothing and waste time, expect nothing, right? And that's just the hard truth that we all have to face and deal with. So I want you to know that your potential is limitless. I'm sure you've heard that before, but you got to hear it from you. You got to look yourself in the mirror and speak affirmations into yourself. So when you wake up in the morning, speak life, right? Don't think about what's going bad in your life. When you wake up, say affirmations, say things that you want to make happen and speak it out loud. Look yourself in the mirror after you brush your teeth and speak it out loud and say what you want to make happen for your life every day. And you're going to see those things manifest because the word has power, right? But you got to say it to yourself so you believe it. Because how could somebody else believe in you and you don't believe in you? Right? We get mad at other people for not believing in us, but sometimes we don't even really fully believe in ourselves. Because if we did, we would act like it, right? So I want you to know that your potential, like I said, is limitless, but you've got to put in the work. I love y'all. God bless you. My name is Messiah Ramkisoon. In any way that I could be of support to your journey, to anything that you're doing in a positive way, I'm here for it. And I'm here to support it in any way that I can. All right? Love. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you so much, Messiah. It was great hearing your words of wisdom. And also, it's great seeing you again. And as always, we look forward to having you back again.
Thank you, brother. Love.
No problem. All righty. It's time for us to get into our showcase. Let's check out some of the work that was created in our small groups.
Wow. No wonder why the majority of our participants love character design. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your creativity with us. Also magical.
I agree with you on that one, Lisa. It was amazing seeing those characters, and I can definitely see why everyone chose character development. All right. Well, it looks like we've actually reached our guest speaker segment. I'm going to pass it over to Kat Golaski, TAP's Industry Outreach Advisor.
Thank you very much, Lyndon. And thank you all for sharing your wonderful projects within the showcase. It's pretty inspiring to see your creativity and your character designs, as Lisa was mentioning as well, which is a really wonderful segue because it's my genuine pleasure to welcome both Garnet Garcia and Stephanie Molina into this very important space, as they're each here to talk about their incredible experiences as artists within a not so unfamiliar organization known as Nickelodeon. Stephanie is a production assistant for the animation pod, and Garnet is an animation production intern. And so I'd love to welcome them into the space and have them each have the opportunity to introduce themselves and share their story before we share some of their upcoming projects. So both personal and professional, because they have a lot to share with you all today that they've each been working on. So Stephanie, why don't I start with you, if you don't mind? I'd love to welcome you into our little Zoom room here and talk about your career, your industry, like how you got into the industry, what prompted and motivated you to become the talented production assistant that you are.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's so great to be here with you all. I made a presentation, if we're starting that I can totally, show off to how I got to where I am. So let me just share my screen right now really quick.
We would absolutely love that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And let's see. All right, so hey everybody, my name is Stephanie, and yeah, today I'll be sharing along with Garnet my journey to becoming a Nickturn, or in my case, a production assistant at Nickelodeon. And so here's my intro. Currently I'm a production assistant at the Creative Promos Animation Pod in Nickelodeon, and that's for New York City. So if you guys want to stay local, marketing and animation is a really great path to go down. And the Creative Promos is actually 3 different departments. It's the animation pod, the live action team, and then I forget the last team, but they're like a different kind of branding. So being in the animation pod especially is really important and really special to me because that's what I love and that's what I'm passionate about, animation. So it's so nice getting to work with these cartoons every single day. So to start, I thought I would give a breakdown of my time in school. I know you guys are a bunch of different ages, from younger to older, but so I started from the beginning, so we can all have something in common. But I grew up watching a lot of cartoons and playing a ton of video games, way too much. My parents took them away all the time. And I wrote comics for fun, including all my friends. And I also composed music. I have a really big musical background, a big artist's background, and a big writing background. And so I used to have all my sketchbooks confiscated by teachers for how much I drew in class. I just wouldn't listen and I would doodle away all day. That was that. So I knew from a very young age, I didn't know that I wanted to pursue art professionally, but I knew that I loved it. I just didn't know that you could do what you love. You could, have a good job that's paying well and has benefits and security, but also do what you love. But like, spoiler alert, you can. There's lots of opportunities for you guys out there. Yeah. So once high school began, I started going through some personal struggles. I was feeling a lot more of this pressure to do something useful for a career rather than what I loved. And so because of this, I started experiencing a lot of mental health issues, as well as a death in the family, someone very close to me. And I just stayed in bed, and I ended up repeating my junior year of high school because I couldn't get up and go to school. And it was so bad that they had to actually switch me into an alternative school. And that's where I was able to turn things around and, start to get my grades back up and think about things like college or what comes next. And so, I got help turn things around. And I applied to college and got accepted to SUNY New Paltz College in upstate New York. And it's a wonderful school, and it really changed things for me. And so once I got to college, I still felt the pressure to do something important. So I majored in biology. And I started biology was not for me. I think just because of listening to my parents go, oh, you got to be a doctor, you got to be an engineer, you got to be a lawyer. I was like, like I literally closed my eyes and was like, this one, biology, sure. Like I was completely unprepared for college. So while I was pursuing biology, I started experimenting with clubs to fulfill my passions. I joined the school's TV station, the school's radio station, and my school's newspaper station, all in one semester. Because I thought to myself, if I'm going to be doing something I don't like during the school day, I might as well be doing something I love, after school. And so that's where I let, my creative outlet go. And so I learned important leadership skills, and I started growing more confident in pursuing what I loved. And so this is great for all of you that might be in college or considering going to college. It's totally okay to change your major. It's totally okay to have no idea what you want to do. I think it's great that so many of you are in a program like this and already have a leg up in animation. That's wonderful. And I think, 100% go pursue that if that's what you want to do. But if you change your mind, that's totally okay too. I ended up changing my major 3 times over the course of 2 years, from biology to mechanical engineering to finance. And then finally, I was like, okay, this is enough. Like, I've got internship experience, I've got club experience. Like it's time I pursue what I actually love. And that was media and music production. And so while I was making this realization, I also realized, that while I loved my school, it wasn't the perfect fit for me in certain aspects. Where I really wanted to be was New York City. And so I managed to do that. I transferred against the advice of every professional during my junior year to CUNY Hunter in New York City. So kind of the message here with my college experience is just follow your heart, even if it seems scary or you seem unsure. Like that's just definitely what's going to guarantee success for you. Always following your heart and following that fear, which I'll get to in a bit. And so lastly, I thought I would finish up my time with internships. When I first came into college, I had 0 experience, literally 0. I remember I worked in my school's kitchen for a little bit, so I had that, but like nothing else. And I remember all my other friends were like working at Fridays, working at Applebee's, working at Target. They all had like, in my head, real jobs. And, I was the first one to not really have anything. So if you don't have experience, that's totally okay too. It's never too late to start. And just because maybe, let's say you didn't have as many experiences as your friends in high school, that doesn't mean you're not going to be as successful as them post college, because you still got plenty of time to catch up. So yeah, my first jobs were school clubs and student jobs. Then from there, I was an intern at a biomedical company called Aerolace, back when I thought I was mechanical engineering bio student. And also this startup called Ojalá Threads. And that was an unpaid internship. And it's always good to ask yourself if it's worth getting an unpaid internship. For me, it was only a few hours a week, and I really loved the message of the creator of the business. So I stuck with it. But it's a great question to, kind of ask yourself, like, am I financially in a situation where I can take an unpaid internship? Is the knowledge going to be greater than, the loss of not getting paid? Or if you're really, really starting out, it might be worth it. If I can't get anything else, unpaid internships are significantly easier to get because, they're not paid. So people are looking for people. But if you have the opportunity to take one, there's still a lot of fruitful experience you can get from that. And I'm really glad I did that. I wouldn't do that now because now I have more experience on my belt. But starting out, I definitely, I tell people to have an open mind and think about it if they can. And so after that, I was a participant in the T. Howard Foundation. This is a great foundation. I can answer questions at the end about it. But it essentially, there was the school part of my life, which was, learning how to edit, learning how to animate, learning how to draw, things like that. But then there was also the professional part of my life. And this is where this foundation really helped me. They had resume sessions, cover letter sessions, how to interview, how to ask for a raise, how to be confident and show up and show off as an intern and, really contribute to the group. So that really helped me in all my intern roles. And they also help you get other jobs. So they ended up getting me a job at History Channel. I was an intern there in New York City, and that was so much fun. That was 2019, and it was an absolute blast. And it just it was the first time I actually made it into a big media studio, with all the sliding glass doors and the tons and tons of people. And it really solidified that idea that, I want to do something in television. And in my heart, I still wanted to do something with animation, but I knew I would get there. And so after that, I interned at Adult Swim in Atlanta, Georgia, and that was wonderful. That was like a reset. I was like going through a lot in New York, and it was just really nice to get out for a little bit, see something new, try something new. And I got to work with a lot of animation, and that's what lit up that fire that, oh, now I know I love television, and now I know I love animation. So what comes next? I participated at another foundation, another fellowship called the IRTS Foundation. This is great for all of you from New York City or not from New York City, because they actually pay for your food, your housing, and I believe you get a stipend for fun to live and work in New York City. And they are also open to already taking on people who are already from the city. You don't need to be outside of it. So that's a really great opportunity. I didn't get to do that because it was virtual, but I still gained a lot from it, and I recommend it to anyone. And simultaneously, while that was happening, I interned at Nickelodeon in New York City, and that was wonderful. That was last summer, so also remote. I was working at Creative Promos the same way I was at History Channel. And then from there, I jumped over and I was working at Nickelodeon in Burbank. So it was like every step of the way was funneling closer and closer to what I wanted to do. It started out with like media to television, to animation television in LA, to finally, right now, I got a freelance production assistant at my last internship working at Nickelodeon in New York City, which, woo, that was the dream for me. I wanted to work in television, I wanted to work in animation, and I wanted to stay in my favorite place ever, which is New York City. And just by following my heart and working hard and being honest with myself, I was able to achieve that. And I would leave you guys with this. My last advice to students, as I said earlier, is just follow the fear and always seek discomfort. Like, you'll know in your gut when something is a good kind of fear versus a bad kind of fear. But most of the time, a lot of these steps I had to take were really hard for me. Getting my first job was hard for me. I didn't think I was ready. Joining my school's TV station, I was like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'll come back later when I'm good. And my boss is like, what are you talking about? That's why you're here, to get good. You don't get good and then come back later. To going to Atlanta, that was scary. Starting at Nick remotely, that was extremely scary. But every single time I followed the fear, it's paid off in such a big way. And so I always tell everybody that, speak up. As an intern, you're valuable, you have worth, you have great ideas. And now, from getting an internship position to a job, it made me realize that much more how important internships are and how closely they actually do pay attention. Because as a result of working hard and always being open to questions and advice, I managed to get a full-time job there. So they really do take their interns seriously, and there really are great opportunities that could come from that. And yeah, that's about it for my side. I can toss it over to Garnett if she's ready.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Your words are so incredibly powerful. I really appreciate you highlighting the idea of following the fear and sort of seeking the discomfort. I think that resonates so much with our participants here today. Janelle in particular said that they can relate so much to you, which is quite special.
Awesome.
So thanks so much.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Garnett, thank you. If you don't mind jumping in and sharing your wonderful story as well.
Hello, everyone. Hi, happy to be here. So yeah, my name is Garnett. As I mentioned, as Kat mentioned before, I am an animation development intern at Nickelodeon. I currently work with Blaze and the Monster Machines over at the New York City branch. So there are animation opportunities here in the city, not many, but they do exist, especially here at Nickelodeon. So yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my experience. I'm also going to start from the beginning. My school days. Me and Steph have a similar kind of story. I was always that art kid, quote unquote, in school. Everybody knew I could draw. If there was ever an art project, and the teacher mentioned drawing, everyone just looked at me. That's kind of what I was known for. I knew I really loved it. But it was also something that I kind of just like did in my notebook, got in trouble for, in the middle of class. And then high school came around. I got into, and I knew I wanted to do art, but I also, I was a kid with good grades. So my parents really encouraged me, like you're smart, do something like STEM, do something like do something with math or science. And so I had to choose between LaGuardia High School and Bronx Science. And I chose Bronx Science. So I continued to draw as a hobby, and I continued to be like that art kid. everyone around me was pursuing things like, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be an engineer. And I'm like, I like anime. I'll figure out what I'll do with that. And again, like I was in a very STEM school. So when senior year came around and they asked me like, well, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? I was like, maybe I could be an artist. And they were like, nah, you don't want to do that. It doesn't really make money. You know, like you're smart, do something different. So I studied architecture. For a year, I went to Syracuse University. It was a great experience, but I was also extremely miserable. I didn't really see any vision for myself there. It's a great practice, a very honorable practice. But I noticed that on the side, I was drawing cartoons. You know, I was storytelling with my friends. You know, I could tell where my passion truly lied. I could tell, you know, again, architecture students like low-key don't sleep, and so those precious hours that were free, you know, it was doing art. By the end of my freshman year, I knew I didn't want to be there anymore. So I jumped ship. I got into Parsons in the city, but it was a little too expensive for me. And I was kind of a fan of not graduating with a buttload of debt. So I went to CUNY City Tech instead. And that's where I've been studying. I study illustration and animation with a focus on storyboarding and character design. Yay to all my character design fans out there. Going to the next slide. During the pandemic, so this is important because that's very like that's the start of how I got to where I am right now. So the pandemic hit, and obviously everything started going online. You know, Zoom became a thing, working virtually became a thing, going to school virtually became a thing. And because of that, a lot of studios in LA were now forced to take you know, webinars, sessions, jobs, whatever it is that they were doing, and put it online. This made it accessible to like everybody. And so Netflix started with a webinar series, which gave birth to a lot of different like artist groups that started popping up. One of them was the Rad Artist Network, which I happened to join. And when I joined it, I was suddenly in connection with a bunch of students from like these really top art schools, like over in LA and in Atlanta, and, you know, seeing what they were doing, their senior projects, everything they knew. They knew all this language and all this technical stuff about the animation industry. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know anything. And in realizing how little I knew and how like behind I was from people who, you know, we were both students in the same year. We should know the same thing if we're going into the same industry. I did not know the same thing as them. So last summer was, you know, it was, yeah, I really loved what Messiah said earlier about like, you have to make moves, you know, you've got dreams, you know where you want to go, but how you get there is very important, and knowing how to get there is very important. So I started asking questions, I started taking opportunities, you know, I had a chance to be a part of a small project with lots of other artists, and I signed up to be a support character designer, which eventually led to me being a lead character designer. And then I got that experience and I was like, oh, awesome. And that taught me a lot. So I kept going to panels and more panels with like all of these studios and programs that were popping out of nowhere. And eventually Nickelodeon hosted theirs last, I think it was like June or August, around that time. And I didn't go there to like get an internship job. Like I went there because I wanted to learn. That was the purpose. You know, they were going to be talking about what to put in a character design portfolio. What if you wanted to be a writer? What do background painters do? Here's the pipeline. Like it was so much knowledge and I was just eating it up. It was a webinar just like this one. I was in the chat, I was active, and my initiative and all the questions that I was asking and how active I was actually, you know, caught the eye of a recruiter. And one of the recruiters at Nickelodeon reached out to me and said, hey, we would really like it if you did our internship program. You want to come on board? And I was like, oh my gosh, of course I want to come on board. It's Nickelodeon, why not? You know, and that was it. You know, we stayed in contact for a little while after that. And in January, I started my position as a Nickturn. So my experience as a Nickturn, Nickelodeon's internship program is amazing. It is incredible, and everyone in the industry knows it. They are really, really adamant about giving students the opportunity to really find where they fit in the industry. You can go in with an idea of like what you want, like say, you know, you want to be a character designer or you want to be a writer, but they also encourage you to, you know, check out what production does or have a look at the social media team. And in that you can find so many different jobs, because the industry is it's not just artists, you know, it takes a lot more than just artists to make a show. It takes a lot more than artists to bring all of that to life. So Nick really wants you, you know, its interns to get to, you know, dip their hands in all of that and see where they fit. So you're engaging with your team. In my production team, I help a lot with the production coordinators, who are the people who kind of like run the whole show. They're taking notes, they're attending meetings. They're like, hey, Garnet, can you go and find this file and send it to, you know, the director over there? And I'm like, got it. And I'm kind of like, I'm their little assistant. I also attend intern classes. You know, me and Steph, we've attended lots of different classes put together for us, where they're just teaching us things. They're teaching us like, how do you pitch a show to a company? You know, what do storyboarders do? What does development do? All these things that they don't really teach you in school, they want you to know, and it's really amazing. You get the chance to collaborate with other interns on projects. Me and Stephanie actually worked together on a Meet the Nickturns poster that was distributed to the entire company at the very beginning of our internship, and that was an amazing experience. And then you also get to talk to like everyone. You know, informationals are a part of the experience. They want you to ask questions to people who have these full-time jobs. So I've talked to people who have worked on, you know, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've talked to people who have worked on, you know, all these different shows, on Big Nate that's coming up, on the Loud House, on the Casagrandes. It's really incredible, and it's just like all at your fingertips. Nick is so generous with their interns. It's been an awesome experience. And yeah, my advice in all of this is something that I actually learned last year at the job fair, which is that to succeed in this industry, you really want three things. You want hunger, you want heart, and you want humility. It is really important to always, you know, have that mind where you're just like, I'm not gonna quit. I'm hungry for this. I really, really want this. That drive is very key, because this industry is full of rejection. It's full of a lot of cancellation. It's not a straight line. So you're going to end up going like, you know, this way and that way. And I didn't really think I'd end up here, but we're going to go that way now. And in all of that, you need to have a drive within you to make it to where you want to go. And that takes a lot of heart, you know, and in every person that I've met at Nickelodeon has a lot of heart for what they do, whether it be their art, whether it be, you know, getting representation on screen, whether it be, you know, just getting more people to know about these shows. They put a lot of heart in what they do. But humility is also very key. I think the animation industry is very, very special because, you know, not a lot of people have big egos. You know, we're making cartoons for kids. How seriously can we take ourselves? I've walked into meetings like, oh no, I'm gonna be late, you know, like, shoot, they're gonna like, someone's gonna get mad at me. And I step in and our audio producer is making chicken noises because she's reading the script to someone else. And it's like, man, we're just here to have fun, you know? And that humility is very, very key to making it far in this industry. It's really important. So hunger, heart, and humility is what I would tell everyone. It has stuck with me for over a year now, and it'll probably stick with me forever. So that's a little Spark Note session on my journey from school to being a Nickturn. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Garnet. More powerful words from Garnet as well, in terms of the hunger, heart, humility perspective on how you approach your work. It's really, really inspiring. So thank you. I'm conscious we're starting to get some wonderful questions into the chat right now. So please continue to populate our Q&A section, because we'd love to sort of have Garnet and Stephanie answer as many of these questions as possible. I'm also conscious that you also brought some visuals for our participants, just for them to get a taste or a sense of of the type of work that you do, because I think that could be quite fun for them. Would you feel comfortable sharing that within the space, and then we can start answering some of our wonderful participants' questions?
Absolutely, yeah. Since a lot of people seem to be interested in character design, I'm actually going to pull up some of the work that I did for a character design class last year. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh, Steph, could you stop sharing? I guess you have to stop sharing your screen. There we go. And here we are. So can everybody see this? Are we good? Oh, I'm sorry. You can don't look at my messages. Can everyone see everything?
Yes, thank you. That's perfect.
Alrighty. So here's an example of some of my work, and you'll see that there's a very wide range of work here. That's because, I mean, there's a wide range of all the different characters you can make and all the different styles that you can make. The animation industry is very, very diverse, and now more than ever with like streaming services, you have all these different types of looks. You know, you've got things like the Loud House, which is, you know, very like almost like a comic book kind of feel to, you know, the classic Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is most definitely inspired by Japanese anime. There's a wide range of things that you can do, but you know, here is just some of my work. You'll see that over here, these two, the two girls, one with the Indian attire and the other one with the leather jacket, is something called a turnaround. These are very, very important when you do a character design job. Chances are, if you do a character design job, you're going to be doing a lot of turnarounds, which basically is like, you just need to know how to move the character and show all the angles. And this is what the animators use when they're making the character move around. What does the character look like from the back, from the side? You know, how does their hair look like? If it's more stylized, it's probably going to look a certain way. If not, it'll look a different way. Character design also involves, you know, you see with these three girls over here, I personally, one of my biggest values is diversity. I love putting as many, you know, different looking people on the screen as I possibly can. And, you know, in this project, I was very, very adamant about having these three girls look different. You know, they look completely different, have very different feels, have different facial expressions, different fashions. And that's also a part of character design, you know, being able to draw different people, different characters that have their own unique feeling is absolutely a part of the job. And I saw some amazing work earlier from the groups. I was really impressed by some of the designs that you guys did. So conceptually it was really great. So, you know, character design can range in work. If you're doing more of a studio job, you probably are going to do more things like turnarounds, as you see, or you'll do things like special poses, which you don't see here. I don't have any of those. But there's people who like specifically their job is to draw these characters, you know, jumping or screaming or, you know, flipping over. And those are very special poses that the animators might need to do their job. It's like, how do we turn this character this way? That's your job as the character designer. So again, these are just some examples of my work. I'm sure people will probably have some questions afterwards, but just wanted to show this. And for those, I don't know if there's anyone out there interested in storyboarding, but that's a very different thing. It's two completely different jobs. I will stop sharing this. And, you know, just for anybody who doesn't know, storyboarding is the thing that, it is the part of the pipeline that happens right before animation. So the storyboarders kind of tell the animators what to do. You do a lot of camera direction, you do a lot of timing, and something that's called an animatic, but it's not as clean as what you would see in animation. So I'm going to show you guys an example. This is actually something I did for class. And as I mentioned before, you are about to hear some cat noises, so do not be alarmed. It is just my screen. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes, thank you.
All right, hopefully the sound is working.
Meow 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 meow
New Meow Meow Mix from Purina, the cat food with 3 separate flavors in one package. 3 flavors that cats love best: tuna, liver, and chicken. Meow Mix tastes so good, cats ask for it by name.
Meow.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So again, that was an example of a storyboard. So as you guys can see, there's no color there. The lines are way more rough. It's more like an idea of what the animators are supposed to do. And then the animator is going to make it look good, you know, and make it the way that you know animation to be. And again, there's a whole pipeline of this. There's a whole pipeline of people. Everyone's got their own jobs. There's different, you know, parts of the pipeline where sometimes we got to go back, like, wait, actually that needs to change. Someone did something wrong, but it's all part of a process. There's a lot of people involved in making even one episode of something.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate you speaking to the production process. So I think that is offering a really great insight to our participants. And Ali, in particular, going back to your characters' designs, really appreciated the representation of diversity in all the characters and says that they're all very, very beautiful. So thank you for sharing that, Aaliyah.
Thank you.
And a few questions are certainly coming through, thanks to all of you. So please keep populating this this Q&A section. Fatimata actually asks something that I think Stephanie might speak to your strengths, certainly. She said that she loved the presentation. It was very informative and eye-opening and made me think about my own passions, which is that of writing. Do you have anything to highlight with regards to that in terms of your process and your creative process, rather?
Yeah, definitely. I can take that. I absolutely love the animation process too, but I'm sort of in a, I guess like not a rare predicament because a lot of people are like this, but like I'm not necessarily super skilled in just one area. I'm like pretty good or okay at a lot of different areas. So I just wanted to put that footnote out there, like to you guys, even if you aren't great artists, because I still consider myself an artist and I draw, but I know like, woo, like maybe not for a living, like this isn't quite there yet. But there's still plenty of jobs for people who are, you know, good at different areas or okay in all areas. But to answer the writing question, yeah, writing is super, super fun. There's tons of different lanes you can go down with that. Right now I work in creative promo. So I do writing for like when you're watching TV and it's like next summer, this SpongeBob special, like that kind of stuff, like producers write. But I'm also interested in writing for television as well. So I've done a little bit of research on this. And I think if you're super interested, some of the steps you can take are similar to Garnett. You can join a program like RAD, where you can join other artists, maybe come up with a script. And if you can't draw, like find someone else who can draw. If you can't voice act, find someone else who can voice act. Like it's all a team. Everybody has different ideas to bring to the table. And in addition to that, there's tons and tons of writing books you can read and do your research on. When I was younger, they would tell me this and I'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to read. But now I'm actually going back and looking at these books and I'm like, oh, like this would have solved a lot of problems if I had just read this a couple of years ago. So look out for writing books. A couple popular ones are Story, Save the Cat. There's a few others. Literally just type screenwriting book on Amazon and like the top 10 are what everybody's reading pretty much. But yeah, if you're interested in pursuing it, I would say work with others as a group, start writing your own scripts, start researching what a spec script is because people are still looking for that. You want to, usually when people ask you for sample pieces, they'll ask you for a spec script, which is a script written about another show, as if you were writing an imaginary episode. And it's usually only written for shows that are currently airing. So let's say like Nora from Queens is a relatively new show. It's still airing. So you could write a spec script from that, like a day in the life of Nora. What would she be doing? And then in addition to that, you want to have your own script ready to go. And that can be any idea from your head. And that's where, if you're completely lost on how to start, these storybooks will help you, you know, come up with that structure, come up with that conflict so that everything looks good. And once that's ready, you want to start networking with writers, asking them if they'll read your work, and also entering competitions is a really, really big one. I have some wonderful friends who've had opportunities to write for Disney. They've gotten pitched by SNL. And the way they got there was from competitions. You just want to enter these competitions over and over and over again because you're going to get notes, you're going to make connections, and you're going to learn how to become a better writer. But that's what I would say to someone who's brand new to writing and is still like, you know, outside the scope. And yeah, if you have any questions after, you can always reach out to me too. I'm still new to writing myself. I'm still working on my first scripts now. So it's, yeah, I'm still new in the process. So I can definitely give more about like what that perspective is like.
Thank you for sharing your insights, Stephanie. I'd like to direct this next question to you both. It's a really, really great question that Emma's asked, which is, we do have quite a few participants within the space who are high schoolers or are in high school at this time. So she's wondering, what sort of suggestions do you have to high schoolers? Do you feel that college is necessary for a career in animation? Would either of you like to jump in first? I'd rather do that than put one of you on the spot.
I will answer this one first. I think that, first of all, great question. Because you are not the only one asking that question. Especially because, the shape of animation education, of art education has really changed in the last like 5 to 10 years. Because once upon a time, you needed to go all the way to LA to a school like CalArts, if you wanted to do animation. That's it. You had like 2 options. And if you weren't prepared to, drop hundreds of thousands of dollars, you were just not going to make it. However, now that is certainly not the case. You've got tons of tutorials online, things like YouTube. You've got professionals doing online classes where, you pay for it kind of like, almost like you're paying for a class at a college. And they give you live feedback, and it's really awesome because you get to connect with those artists. And I know people who have like attended these classes, like Steve On and so many other like industry professionals, and then gotten jobs from it because these professionals saw how great they were, and it's like, hey, you can do this, like you can get into the industry right now. That being said, art school or art education does have its perks. I know that for me, when I went to City Tech, it's not known to be an art school. I mean, I'm not even technically doing an official like art program. I'm doing a communication design program. So it's more like I'm doing graphic design and advertising, and I learned a little bit of web design. And only in my last 2 years was I really able to have a focus on what I wanted to do. But going to City Tech gave me these really great fundamentals, like how to use Photoshop, taking a figure drawing class, like learning color theory, which is really important. Those are foundational things. You cannot ignore the foundations when it comes to art. You need to know the basics no matter where you go. How you learn them is up to you. But I know that for me, I needed to go to a school in order to do that. Going to a school also allowed me to really build my own portfolio. All of these things that I just showed you, all of my art was from a class that I took in college. It was a character design class. And now I have all of these portfolio works that I've shown industry professionals, and they're like, yeah, this is really great. Going to college also allows you the opportunity to collaborate with other people, which is a very important part of the industry. It is a people industry. You are going to have to talk to another person if you want to go into animation. You're going to have to work with another person. You're going to have to, get feedback. Someone's going to tell you, actually, that's not a good idea. Let's do this. Or like, hey, actually, can we try this instead? And you do a lot of that when you're in school. That being said, again, you don't have to go to a super, like, something that's going to cost like $50,000 a year. If you got that kind of money, amen, more power to you. But I know that, like, I didn't. I know that a lot of people, that I know also didn't, and they needed to go to like community colleges, or they needed to do these online options. And so there are workarounds to that. I think, too long didn't read. My concluding thought is like, pay attention to maybe like what you need to build. If you need a little more direction, if you want the opportunity to collaborate with other people and be in an environment where you're like really surrounded by artists. And again, if you have the opportunity, like you get a scholarship to SCAD or something like that, go for it. It's a great place, and you'll network with tons of people, if you get into one of these schools, or if you're able to go to one of these schools. But if you can't, do not get discouraged, because you can absolutely make it into the end. No one, like, you got a college degree, great. Can you draw though? Can you do that? Can you work in a team? Can you get feedback and then put it into practice with your art? Cool, then amen, you're golden. It doesn't matter. I talked for a minute. So Steph, I don't know if you want to add to that, But
was all
that,
very, very, very informative, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
it's fine.
No,
Stephanie?
wonderful advice. Yeah. Everything Garnett says, I agree with 100%. I think, do you need to go to a super expensive art school? No. I've had a lot of friends tell me that, take somebody from like a CUNY school like us, which is affordable, and somebody from Cal Arts, like just attending the school alone isn't going to do anything for you. It's more like what you do outside of school. It's like that yes and, like, go to school, and what are you doing on the outside? Are you doing clubs? Are you networking with people? Are you working on projects? That's what's very, very important. And I think like they are lowering the boundaries a little bit for like getting into animation. Like now I know some programs are taking out the college degree, but it's like, I think it's very important that you're just going to gain so many skills from it that you might not be able to learn on your own just yet. Like it takes a lot of discipline and I think to kind of, how do I word this? Like it takes a lot of discipline to, constantly pump out projects and improve your work. And that's something that you guys might not have developed yet just coming out of high school. I know myself, I'm almost graduated and I still don't have that skill quite yet to just do things on my own without a professor going like, this is due tomorrow, Stephanie. And then I'm like, I haven't started. So college can give you a really nice structure. I think it absolutely does not matter where you go. If you're dead set on animation and you're like, this is it, this is my focus, and I'm ready to put in the work, then like, sure, go for these expensive schools. But in a majority of the time, you're going to be totally fine going to a more affordable school. But I think school is important because it will give you that structure, and it will also teach you, half of this was like the art creative journey, but the other half was like, how do I talk to people? How do I talk to professionals? How do I manage myself in a professional environment? And this was all stuff I learned from college. Like just getting thrown into a kind of situation where you're with your peers or you're with other juniors and seniors, people you can look up to and learn from. I think it's just such a great experience that I would encourage everyone to go if they can, unless you're like that 1% who's like crazy disciplined and it's like, I'm going to do this on my own. But for the most part, like community college, affordable colleges, like while like Garnett said, it might not be that storyboarding, like while it might not be exactly that hyper focus of what you want to do, there's still so many skills to be learned. Like I myself am not an art major, I'm a media major, but still all those skills I use at work every single day. So totally recommend college, but it doesn't have to be expensive.
Stephanie, thank you for that. You highlight communication as a very important skill that obviously enhances your day-to-day or your career as it is right now, because you're both so successful in your respective roles. What are some other skills that both of you recommend in order to do your job successfully at this time that you would like to advise on for our participants within the space?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. So I think some of the skills I think are essential. Of course, like we mentioned, communication. You're going to be talking to people every single day, asking for things, getting feedback, and you just want to make sure you're being nice and polite and getting things done in a timely manner. Secondly, I'd say time management is such a big one. You're gonna, as a production assistant, if many of you want to start, this is like a great entry level role position to becoming, say, a character designer or a storyboard artist. They're gonna throw a ton of stuff at you. Like they'll build you up towards it. But like even right now, like I'm managing like 6-7 different things, and you just, you got to be able to make sure. Like before, I was never a list person, but now I need to list every single thing down that I'm doing, what stage I'm at, who I haven't talked to. Time management and organization, I guess that leads into is so important because you just want to know what you're doing at all times. They're going to ask you, they're going to be like, Stephanie, how's that project from 2 weeks ago with this one thing that we were missing? Did you follow up with that guy? And I'm going to be there with my book, like flipping, like, I think so. So like communication, time management, organization, I think are my top 3 skills. And then of course, like Garnett mentioned earlier, like having that heart, like loving what you do is going to be, I think, what powers you to be able to get better at these 3 skills.
Thank you, Stephanie. Garnett, what are some thoughts on your end?
Yeah, no, I think those are my top 3 too. The organization, the communication skills, and the time management. But all of these things, it's because you want to be a reliable person. This is a team. There are deadlines. You need to hit these deadlines because that was something that I had to learn. I'm still in school. I'm still a full-time student over at City Tech. If I don't hit a deadline with my assignments, that's on me. I can either choose to be sad about that or mad about that or not care about that. But if I'm on a team and I'm on a pipeline, everything that I do affects the next person in the pipeline, which affects the next person in the pipe, which affects the next person. And it's like, it is a butterfly effect if something goes wrong. And if you're the person who did that wrong thing, it's like, oh, my bad, sorry. Like, again, it's not like nobody makes mistakes, but you want to be a reliable person. You want to be a person who, I think that another great skill to have is someone who's a problem solver, someone who's looking for solutions. You know, don't just go, whoops, my bad, and then just kind of sit there looking at the mess like, now what? Like, you know, think like, okay, actually, like, this didn't go as planned, so let me try, I'm gonna try to do X, and if X doesn't work, I'm gonna do Y, and if Y doesn't work, I'm gonna do Z, you know? Communicate, you know, that's where the communicating comes. You communicate with your boss saying like, hey, I think I did something wrong, or hey, I think I'm not gonna be able to make this deadline, can we talk about it? That is 10 times better than just kind of not saying anything and then showing up like it didn't happen. Again, the key in all of this is that you want to be someone that people want to work with and that they can rely on you as an artist or as a production person or as a whatever it is your job is. It's very, very key to have those skills because, you know, people want to work with people that make their lives easy. And again, people are always moving in the industry all the time. So you're going to work with the same people again on different shows. You know, I know my supervisor worked at DreamWorks with an executive like 7 years ago. Then they didn't work at the same place anymore. And now they're back together at Nickelodeon. You know, you'll follow the same people. So, you know, you want those people to know that you are someone who is going to give, you know, it's going to be a good time when they work with you for 40 hours a week.
Yeah, it's a very, very small world. So thank you so much for highlighting that. One of our viewers, actually, I'm going to ask you this one question and then I want to sort of delve into this a bit deeper, but they're asking, you know, do you think that that we could work on animation in the freelance capacity? Let's say if you do want a main job in STEM or in, you know, something that Stephanie highlighted earlier, not to put you on the spot, but while you think of an answer, you know, if you feel like that's something that can be balanced, you know, within one's day-to-day, there is a lot of love for your visit in this expressed in this chat today. Alexander says, have a nice day. I enjoyed today's lesson. Thanks so much for teaching me that anything is possible with hard work and determination. Janelli also reflected upon how positive your energy is, the both of you, and how you explain things. It makes me understand things better. So thank you all for these wonderful, empowering comments.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you. That's so sweet. That's what makes my heart full. Like, honestly, what we want to do at the end of the day is just help you guys out the same way that somebody was there to help us. But I think to answer the question, like, yeah, I guess it's so funny. I'm so set on like job in animation because I was the person in denial about not wanting to be in STEM. But you can totally want to be in STEM and work on animation on the outside. That is more than doable. That just wasn't doable for me. I was the opposite. But yeah, absolutely. You know, animation doesn't have to be your number one career either. Like a good example is I love music. I love music production. I might love it more than animation, honestly. It might be my number one, but I knew from the start that I never wanted to pursue a career in that. I do it on the side. And like, if one day it takes off, like, sure, okay. But it's, you know, it's never something that I wanted to go to school for or study or try to get jobs in. And that's totally okay. That doesn't make it any less of my passion or make it any less important to me. And the same goes for animation. You can work in a STEM field or a field that isn't animation and absolutely do these projects on the side. Like everybody has a hobby, right? Make this your hobby. Do collaborations, work with other people, work on your own projects. And like, kind of like my music thing, you never know, like one day it might take off and hey, you can reconsider then. But if not, know that you have this special thing that belongs to only you that you can revisit anytime you're not working. And so that's how I would answer that question.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to say to that question, there are absolutely people who freelance in major studios, you know, in my team alone, there's like 3, 4 people who are freelance artists, which basically means that like, they're not full-time artists at Nickelodeon. They do the storyboard, they give it to the team does what they want, and then they go and do their other job, which I don't know what it is, but maybe it's a STEM job. It can be anything else, you know, and that goes for anything. There's freelance character designers. I think there's freelance writers. Someone can, Steph, you can correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure there's freelance writers. It's very common. I think that there is, you know, something to say in the sense that if you are a freelancer, you definitely are going to have to hustle a little more. You're gonna have to be a lot more disciplined, because, you know, they're just going to give you the deadline and then you go and do whatever you want. And then once that job is over, you got to go and get another job. So if that's your hustle, if that's what you want to do, go for it. It definitely exists. It's definitely there. Yeah, I know that for, you know, for me and Steph, I personally, I'm just like, I have no problem doing freelancing in the future, but I also do really want to, I love the studio work. I love being able to, you know, work within the company and whatnot. So either one, you've got options. You can do this at whatever level you want.
I have something really quick to contribute to that. That's like also something that's really good for all of you to sit and think on while you're going through college or growing up, is whether you want to work in an office or work like on a set or do freelance. Like, this is a big thing that my friends do. Like, freelance can mean I'm a STEM, like I have a STEM job, I do this on the side. But freelance can also mean this is my full-time job, but I'm out here hunting for gigs every single day, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But like, ask yourself what you want and what you're willing to, I guess, sacrifice, or, because I don't want to say put up with, but like, yeah, what you're willing to sacrifice. Because freelance is exciting. You get new projects all the time. You never know what's going to happen. But at the same time, you never know what's going to happen. Like, you're going to have to be a lot more reserved with saving money and stuff, because you're going to have highs and lows. Versus office work, some people might see that as too mundane or too repetitive, but also at the same time, you have that stability, and you know that once you're done, once you clock out, that's it. You know, no more work for the rest of the day. So it's just something to think about, whether you want to be a freelancer or you want to work in an office environment. But I will say at Nickelodeon, the office environment is not boring at all. It's not like, I don't even want to call it an office, but I have to.
Nick,
but it's
Nick makes
a
it fun.
blast.
I can only imagine. That's actually a really nice segue, Stephanie, because Javon asks $1 million question, which is that how many hours or how much hours do you each have to put in to get where you are right now?
Ooh, good question.
Question, Javon.
I think for me, I don't like clock in my hours in terms of like all the hustling I did last summer, but it took a lot, you know. It takes a bit, you know, and especially, you know, as great as all the panels were last summer, you know, a lot of them were like on LA time, and in LA, if they're like, hey, you know, we don't want anybody to go to bed too late, so we're just gonna have this panel from like 8 to 10. I'm like, that's like 11 to 1 in the morning for me. And so, you know, those are the sacrifices that you make sometimes. I do think that, I think Messiah actually spoke to it earlier, that like, don't expect shortcuts, because it doesn't work that way, you know. And in this world of instant gratification, especially like with Instagram and Twitter, and you can see, you know, the likes and the people with thousands of followers and whatnot. I'm like, it's not really about that. You know, you're gonna hustle, you're gonna find the harder stuff, you're gonna do the work without getting all the praise and love in the world a lot more than you are going to get all the praise and love in the world, you know. There is, you know, there's so many people who ask questions like, oh, what's the fastest way to get into the industry, or like, what are the tips and tricks that you use to like quickly do whatever it is that you do, your drawings and whatnot. And it's like, I like spend, I don't know how many hours just like wanting to throw my tablet out the window because I didn't like what I just finished drawing, and I spent like 5 hours on it, and it's like, this sucks. And it's part of the process, you know? So the short answer to that question is a lot, you know? Some are gonna get there faster than others. I know that I was very, very fortunate, a blessing really, to be reached out by a recruiter when I was just there, you know? Because I know that there's many people who spend 2-3 years trying to break into the industry, and it takes them a while to break in. But, you know, again, don't think it's gonna be quick. Don't think it's going to be easy, because you're going to have to put in a lot of hours to get to where you want to go. But know that it's not in vain. It's every bad drawing, every frustrated, every time you say I can't draw the other eye, you're learning slowly you're going to get there. Don't worry about it.
And Stephanie, before you answer, thank you, Garnett. Something you did highlight that I think is really important for us to share within this space is that everyone has their own pace in getting into the industry. You know, there is no same or similar formula for each artist as they pursue the next steps in their career. So thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah, Garnett's the best, man. But I guess I guess I'll give numbers for myself. It took me 3 to 4 years until I started getting really big internships and I started feeling comfortable with what I was doing and proud of it. I think there are no shortcuts, but there is knowledge. For me, that was 3 to 4 years with starting college day one, not even knowing about animation, not even thinking about it. With you guys, it might be sooner because you're already working in teams, you're already learning about the industry. It could be less than that, or it could be more. Again, it depends. But I think one thing that is important is like, yeah, know that everything happens for a reason. As much as that saying, as much as people don't like that saying, like all my science classes, all my biomedical classes and internships, like that all still taught me something, even though it wasn't animation itself from day one. And a big thing is don't compare yourself to others at all. Like I have so many successful friends that I'm like, ooh, don't compare. Like we like compare to each other. Like I'm like, oh, they're so good at this and I suck. But then they're like, oh, Stephanie's so good at this and I suck. So just throw comparing out the window. There are no shortcuts, but I would say knowledge is power. The more you learn, the faster you can get there, I think. And also know that opportunity is luck meets preparedness. Like, yes, you need that bit of luck, just how Garnett had luck, like when the recruiter spotted her out, even me for Nickelodeon. Every year I would apply to like hundreds of internships. The year that I got my first Nickelodeon internship, I had applied to 2 or 3. Like that was super lucky. Because there's been times where I've gotten 100 no's, but this time just 3 internships and I got a yes super early. But know that I could have done none of that without being prepared. So, I think of it too as like flowers blooming, right? Like some of you guys might bloom sooner than others, but that doesn't mean you're not going to. And think of that knowledge and that preparedness as the water, and that's what's helping you grow and get there. But just know that, it'll come. It'll definitely come as long as you keep that work and heart in it. And someday, like I guess I'm speaking for Garnett, but me and Garnett now, it's just so nice to look back and be like, I'm finally in a comfortable place where I'm happy with what I've achieved and proud of what I've done. And I feel confident enough to keep moving forward. But for a while, you might feel like an imposter. You might feel like you're not good enough, or you might feel like this isn't for you. But like, trust me, once you get that first big internship or 2 or big opportunity or 2, you're really going to be like, oh, like I should have followed my heart all along. Like, this is really it for me. And that's going to be such an amazing moment for you guys. And I can't wait until you all realize it.
100%. Very nice.
I also just want to add one more thing, that because Stephanie said it's so important, the knowledge. I think that the people who get there the fastest are the ones who have the most open mind. And they are the ones who don't block themselves off by thinking that they know everything. The minute you think, oh, I know how to do this, I don't need to look at it again, I don't need to practice anatomy again, I don't need to reach out to another person, I know enough people, you're blocking yourself off. And it's going to take you longer. And you can't, don't have them in, I mean, if you want, again, more power to you, but I personally don't think it gives you more power. Those people who are like, I only want to be a character designer at Cartoon Network, and that is the only thing I will ever say yes to. Don't do that, because it's not that straight of a line, and everybody moves around anyway. So, the one of the executives who just got hired on Nickelodeon was an executive at Cartoon Network and was responsible for like Adventure Time and Steven Universe. And now he's here. And before that, he was at Warner Brothers, and I know a person who's a full-time scriptwriter on the show that I'm on at Nickelodeon who was a lawyer before. Like, how do those dots even connect? So have that idea of an open mind, of getting all the knowledge, and never think that you are done learning, because especially in art, that's not the case. You are always going to be learning. You are always going to be going back to the basics. It's very, very key. So I just wanted to highlight that from Stephanie, because that was a very important point.
Thank you. So adding to this too, we've got a couple more questions before we close out this afternoon, although I want to ask all of the questions. Deshawn, there's been a lot of commentary within the chat of a lot of interest in voice acting and how to sort of pursue that as an avenue. Deshaun's wondering in particular, how does everyone, or how does one become a Nickturn? Because they're interested in both voice acting and animation. So could either of you kindly expand upon that as to that process?
Yeah, sure. Being a Nickturn, it definitely is a journey. Know that you don't have to be in school for it. That's something I learned kind of recently. Though I would recommend being in school, the traditional, grow as you get older in college, get more internships, get that experience and get there. But I would say how to get there is, at least for me, the second you get into school, really look at animation focused clubs or internships or anything that really interests you to gain that experience of, like I said, time management, organization, communication. Joining these clubs or getting these jobs will help you build yourself there. And I think as that happens, join fellowships, like the 2 fellowships I mentioned. They are both geared towards media, and they'll teach you those communication skills. Get your LinkedIn game on, get your branding game on. I'm so big on branding. Go back and delete like all the stupid tweets or posts you would have made like in the past when you're younger. That's a big one too. Like, woo, wanna have a fresh slate for when you're putting yourself out there to the world. And yeah, just keep building internships from there. That's how I did it. Like I started off, again, a biomedical company and an unpaid startup. Like neither of those fields were necessarily what I wanted to do, but I kept an open mind, like Garnett said, and I gained skills from that. And slowly I built myself up to Nick. And know that you'll have to apply to at least 50 internships a semester. I know it sounds scary and rejection is scary. I remember when I first used to get my rejections, I would read each one like painfully, but now I just see no and I'm like, okay, move on, next one. No, okay, move on. Like learn how to do resume, cover letters, stuff like that. So you can start familiarizing yourself with that job application process, and make sure you have a website. I tell everybody always have a website. It's really, really great. It's not necessary, but it really gives you a leg up. And just, yeah, give it time. Again, it took me 3 to 4 years, and you're just going to learn along the way, and you're going to do great things.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all really great advice and stuff that, I know that every Nickturn has done, even I've done. I will say I kind of suck at branding. So I'm going to talk about a very different way to get into the Nick internship, which is a little more in line with, I think, how I did it. You attend, if you're interested in working at a company, I think for anyone who's recently done college applications, like one thing that they tell you is like, if you're interested in the college, show interest in that college, go to the open house days, ask questions, like send an email, just show the college that you're interested. And the college is going to be like, oh yeah, that person showed up. We remember them. They want to come. Okay, yeah, sure. That's what I did. I was just super duper. They had a Nickelodeon job fair webinar. I just signed up for all of it. I wasn't picky. I'm like, I'll go to this class. I'll go to this class. I'll go to this class. And I was active. I was asking all the questions every time they in the Q&A, they had this really nifty feature where you could raise your hand and they'd like unmute you. And I did that every single time. So they knew my voice at one point. And I know a lot of the Nickturns currently in our semester, they went to portfolio days at their school, because they went to those kinds of schools that are in LA or are close by, and they spoke to a recruiter, stayed in touch with them for like a year, and then when it was time to submit applications, the recruiter remembered them and they got in like that. Networking is the name of the game. It's like right next to branding. you're good at branding, do that. But if you're good at networking, that's a real superpower, and you can really use that to your advantage. So if you want to intern at Nick, get in touch with the recruiters. There are multiple ways to do that. Sometimes, you might not be, they're very busy people. So maybe if you hit them up over LinkedIn, it's not impossible, but it might be a little harder. But again, if you see that Nickelodeon is having like a portfolio review day, shoot your shot, go for it. If you see that they're hosting a panel, attend, ask questions, make yourself known. There are thousands of people who apply to these internships. There are tens of thousands of people who apply to this internship over the summer. How are you going to stand out in the sea of thousands? Sometimes you just gotta speak a little louder, make it not in an annoying way. Don't be annoying, but like, in a confident way, in a way of like, hey, I want to work here. So if you want me, I want you. So yeah.
Stephanie.
I got something really good too. I'll make it quick, but because I completely forgot, it was a referral that got me into Nickelodeon my second time. And so don't just think of reaching out to recruiters alone. Also reach out to any staff at Nickelodeon and follow up with them, because I had a staff at Nickelodeon who wasn't a recruiter, who was the one who gave me a referral, who got me noticed by the director of the program in the first place. And also I wanted to say, wait, what did I want to say? My head is blanking. Get a referral. Oh yeah, follow up with people. That's a big one. A lot of people do like a one and done, like here's our informational and then bye. Like that's what the majority of people do. So if you want to stand out, actually follow up with that person. Like every anywhere between like 2 to 6 months is good. I think that's what I do to follow up. And you'll be surprised at how much people do for you once you actually follow up with them, because it's like after the first meeting, it's like, okay, I kind of know Stephanie. And like, that's not really the time to ask for a job. But after like the 7th or 8th meeting, or in my case, with my mentor, it was like the 20th meeting, he was like, oh, Nick internship program. Like, of course I'll refer you, like no questions asked. So really follow up with people and focus on the connection part and the relationship part rather than the what they can do for me part. And you'll be surprised like how far people go for you. And this goes for you guys too, for those who are shy to follow up, because I know I'm shy to follow up. Like, I'm letting you know now, this is the secret. Like if you follow up with me and keep following up, like the more you message me, the more likely I'm happy to help you out. So just something to know.
100%. That's brilliantly said, Stephanie. Our final question, and I'm sad to say this because you know I want to spend the rest of the afternoon with you both and everyone else within the space. Niles asks, as artists, you know, whether you're a musician, an actor, a dancer, a singer, voiceover artist, after graduating college, what should one person do, or any program for that matter, what should a person do about that feeling of figuring out what to do next? And while you both think of an answer to this, I do want to sort of name and acknowledge that there's so many of you who are obviously very much, which is really exciting, interested in voice acting. So we'll be touching upon that throughout this programming in a future mega webinar. So we'll definitely be able to address all those wonderful questions that you have. So Garnett or Stephanie, if either of you would like to jump in and answer that first, that would be great. Thank you.
Ooh, this is a weird question because I haven't graduated college yet. So I haven't gotten to that point. But knowing what a lot of my friends are doing, because I have a whole group of friends that they're you know, we all follow each other, our art Instagrams, and they're like, hey, just graduated, now I gotta figure out what I want to do, or like, you know, now I gotta go find a job. If you don't know what you want to do, or you are okay with exploring for a little bit, I would be the type of person that like, listen, I'm just gonna try everything, you know, because I don't know where it's gonna end up. If I like voice acting, I'm gonna do that. You know, if I like dancing, I'm gonna do both. You know, who says I can't do both? Who says I can't at least try both? Because you don't know where one will lead you. So, you know, maybe you do both and then the voice acting thing really works out and then amen, that's where you're going. If you do know where you want to go, then it is very key for you to, again, I go back to, you know, I gave so much amazing advice earlier. Like you need to, you might know where you want to go, but you do need to kind of start finding a roadmap of how to get there. If you know you want to work in animation, have informational, you know, have meetings with people who work in animation. And I'm just going to say right off the bat, like, don't, there are people in animation who are a lot more accessible than other people. The showrunner who is like, you know, famous and has like God knows how many thousands of followers is probably super busy. And if you email them or Instagram DM them, probably not going to get back to you, you know? On the other hand, there are lots of other artists that, you know, have just a handful of followers, maybe aren't that well known, but they work in the industry. Go ask them. The chances are they're going to have a lot more time to talk to you about how do you get there. And then when they tell you what you need to do it. You know, don't just say like, oh, great advice. Okay, I'm going to go keep playing on my Switch for like 20 hours a day and not really working towards what I want to do. You got to work towards it. You know, if they tell you, you got to hit up this person, work on your portfolio, build a website, you better do those 3 things, or at least 2 of those things, you know? So those are you know, again, I haven't gotten there, so take this advice with a grain of salt. But if you don't know what you want to do, try everything. If you do, get information, get knowledge on how to get to where you want to go.
Thank you.
100% what Garnett said. I'm getting there. I'm gonna graduate at the end of August. I mean, I'm happy I have this production assistant position, but it's also freelance, so that expires. So I am thinking like, what comes next? Like, are they gonna keep me? Am I gonna do something else? What's happening? But I think the first thing is don't assign your value or your worth to how soon you get a job, because I am honestly shocked. Some of my friends, I have set friends that have made cookbooks for Sega, have like partnered with Sonic. I have friends, again, the friend that got the SNL pitch, they were both jobless for years, And that's not to scare you guys, because again, it's like, it's literally luck of the draw. Like some people with less experience will get that job right away. Some people, like my friends with insane experience, will have a year or two pass and not have a full-time job yet, still doing freelance stuff. But know that, you know, it'll come for you, that time will come. And like Garnett said, explore everything, explore what interests you, and also take advantage of all that free time you have. Like that would be the perfect time to, again, up your website, up your LinkedIn, work on projects with friends, just do anything you can to fill up that time, because one day when you do inevitably get that job, and it's going to happen, you're going to miss all that free time you had when you were jobless. So just, I would say, like, you know, don't compare, don't assign your value to whether you have a job or not, and it'll totally play out. Like, trust me, like it, you know, it's going to work out. I have friends with less experience who've gotten them right away. And then, like I said, friends with a lot who took time. Like, it's completely luck of the draw, but as long as you're prepared, like I said earlier, opportunity is luck meets preparedness. Then you should totally be fine, and don't stress about it. Even if your parents are nagging you too, like, don't stress about it. All my friends deal with that too. Like, it's totally fine.
Thank you, Stephanie. Garnett, Stephanie, it's been such a pleasure having you and share the space with us this afternoon. I really, once again, for the third time this afternoon, I wish I could say we could have more time together. But your insight and your words of wisdom are incredibly powerful and inspiring to not just our participants, but, you know, our staff and myself. You know, it's been really important for us to have you here, and we hope to continue to stay in touch with you all.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's been amazing to share our experience, and hopefully this has been, you know, helpful to people, whether you want to pursue it more as a hobby, or you're still figuring it out, or you know where you want to go. We're just here to share that knowledge, as someone once did for us.
Absolutely, what Garnett said. This has been so much fun. If you ever need us back, please bring us up. You have our info now. And like, to everybody in the chat, like, you have our socials, you have our Instagrams, our LinkedIn. Like, of course, reach out, let us know how you're doing. Like, we'd love to keep the convo going.
Thank you. Very nicely said.
Yeah, I know there were many questions there. So if anyone wants to hit us up, I mean, you know, we're busy, but we will do our very best to answer questions if anybody has.
Yeah.
Thank you both. All right, Lyndon and Lisa, we will pass the baton back on to you two, and to everyone else, we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Garnett and Stephanie. Oh, the wisdom that you've brought is so invaluable. Thank you so much. And yes, you've re-energized me along my journey too. So thank you both. So wonderful having you here.
Yes, thank you so much, Garnett and Stephanie. It was really amazing having you here with us today.
All right, Lyndon, it's that time. We're gonna head into our closing ritual for today. So I know in our small groups we've been talking story, creating characters, and there's been lots of talks of plot twists. So we're gonna play off of that. So wherever you are in your places and spaces, we're gonna invite you to twist, take a stretch in as many ways as possible, soaking in all of that amazing words and wisdoms that were given to us today. So thank you, everyone.
All righty, everyone. Well, it looks like we've come to the end of today's group. Please remember to stay connected with us through our website as well as our social media. And again, thank you for joining the Made in New York Animation Project Mega Group. Bye, everyone.
Have a great rest of your day.
Enjoy the rest of your day as well as your week. Thanks for coming.